How about them Lions? Let's talk about it. A ball-controlling offense, Goff on point. We got two rookies that are killing quarterbacks left and right, and a 10-2 team is favored to lose to a 5-7 team, and that 5-7 team looked Vegas dead in the eye and said, you know what? You're right to pick us. Let's get into that and maybe just a little bit more in today's post-game edition of Lions Talk Live. Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for tuning in to this post-game edition of Lions Talk Live against Minnesota Vikings. And if you would have said just about 2 months ago that the Lions would be one of the hottest teams in all the NFL and one of the craziest defenses, in the league, after going, being number 32 in the league to being a top 15-ish D, forcing turnovers, slapping people in the face, going after the other quarterback and his family in the stands, everybody probably would have looked at you and said, you're crazy. But it is what it is. Houston has arrived. Hutchinson continues playing great. Kirby Joseph making plays. And the Detroit Lions offense, which started the year great, then went through a kind of a lull, is now great again. Jared Goff, one of the hottest quarterbacks and most accurate quarterbacks in all the NFL. Let's also jump in on this on Goff. He's become a little bit of a scrambler. he's no Lamar Jackson or anything like that, but the guy is starting to get out of the pocket and pick up a few yards here and there, just enough to where, you know what, other teams got to pay attention to it. All right, let's talk about the first half of the game. Lions came out, you could tell, super excited, jacked. You got a bunch of younger players who have never been in situations like this, in the NFL at least. And I'm going to say this, why we wanted the Lions to stay relevant further and further throughout the season, even if they don't make the playoffs, is this right here. Big game experience. I can't coach it. You can't coach it. Nobody can teach you how to think, how to handle pressure of a big moment, of a big game, other than one: experience. The Lions are getting exactly what they need. They're getting younger players playing, confidence, and now big game wherewithal. I now know how to handle pregame better. What do I have to do in this situation, that situation? The things that we'd rather have them learn now this year and use it for next year versus vice versa. So I'm going to say this, big win for the team, the coaches, everybody, with just getting this out of the way. The longer we can maintain it throughout the year and get meaningful development, the better these players and coaches will be for years to come. Keeping on with the first half, let's actually talk about the game. The Lions weren't perfect. You could tell the very first drive, nerves all over the place. Things that had gone away the last month and a half or so with the penalties and things of this sort were, rearing their ugly heads up. And to me, that's just a sign of people being jacked up, nervous, into the moment, and unfamiliarity with it. But as they got over that, what do we see? We saw the big play pass down the field to J-Mo. Was it a yard or two behind him? Sure, but can he give Goff, a little bit of a break on that? I can. He's only had so many reps with this kid, let alone in a meaningful game. And J-Mo's going to outrun most passes, so they're going to have to get on the same page. But for all the people jumping on Goff, whether last year or this year or whenever it may be, saying he can't throw the deep ball, today in the first half, he definitely did. The pass to Shark, I thought, was pinpoint. The pass to J-Mo, like I said, maybe a yard or so, behind. He had to slow down a little bit. Thankfully, it didn't impact the play. But clearly, on both passes, Goff put up the ball in the air, 30, 40, and you could even say the last one to Shark was probably closer to 50 yards in the air. The running game, clearly, in Minnesota came in and said, hey, we're not going to give that to you, at least in the first half. They're going to force Goff to throw and beat him, and obviously he did hit some bombs. Whether or not we're going to be able to maintain that throughout all the rest of the season, we'll see. Everybody plays, defensive schemes and schematics, but let's just stick to this game. I thought St. Brown, wasn't at his best, especially on that last drive right before halftime for us. You could see he misread the D, or I shouldn't say that. Him and Goff were on different pages. St. Brown cut in, Goff went out. It didn't hurt us, but it did play a factor in maybe not giving us another 5 or 6 yards that would have probably helped with that last field goal right before half. Going on to James Houston, I'm trying to throw in a bunch of things while we talk here. Houston continues to be absolutely a problem. It's going to be hard to block this guy. And I would say this, watch his footwork as he's setting up some of these moves. I'll say this, he uses a lot of basketball moves, a lot of jump skips, things that offensive linemen don't normally see, and you can see the impact it's having on these guys. He did get stuck with some bull rushes in the first half. Those aren't effective, in my opinion, from him. I think he gets shut down with those, but I also get you can't do the same thing over and over again. Talking about the first half coaching, calls and such, I didn't really have a problem with any of them. The fourth down call to go for it, it was there. Yes, Goff and probably much of the offense still early in the game a little jacked up, a little emotional, a little fired up, if you will. The pass is maybe a half second late and a little bit behind because of it. But much like the penalties with Okudah and just whatever it may be, you could see how the moment was big to the team and how it was affecting them with their reads and reactions. But again, that's things we want from our team, because in the future, that pays dividends, because players and coaches become far more comfortable, familiar with the moment, and that will calm them down in seasons to come. Last thing I'll point out about the first half is you can see the potential future combination at receiver between St. Brown, Shark, if he can remain healthy and re-sign next year, and then J-Mo would bring. Josh Reynolds had, I thought, a very strong first half. So you can keep these four guys together. Not only do you have a lot of speed, a lot of inabilities, but you now have some depth at receiver that most teams don't. And when's the last time the Lions probably had receiver depth like this? You might have to go back to Herman Moore, Johnny Morton, and Brett Perryman, all of them back in the mid-90s. All right, one last bit about the first half. Let's talk about DeAndre Swift. He's starting to look more and more like he did at the beginning of the year and the latter part of other seasons. Beginning of the year, he hit the hole hard. They used him a lot of pass formations, things of that sort, to keep defenses really in a bind. You're going to put in a linebacker on him or a safety. We're going to put him out in the flat and over the middle, and he's probably going to roast most of those cats. Whatever it may be, you're starting to see him reemerge as a force for this team. Not that Jamal Williams isn't. Let's be very clear. He is. But they are completely different players, and I think having that diversity on the offense really just helps this offense now and in the potential future go to another level. The defense, let's talk about this during the third quarter. Obviously, Okudah is basically out the entire third quarter. The illness just getting to him. He wasn't able to play. You saw a number of backups, including Imani Warrior, get picked on. But the Lions did what they needed to do. They got the stop on the 2-point conversion, left at 8 points. Going into the fourth quarter, Lions driving, some good stuff for sure. That drive the Lions put together right before the end of the third, get down the field, then the start of the fourth quarter. You've got Goff hitting a couple key passes, including converting a big third down. Then, Jackson out of the backfield runs wide. He does get the touchdown. They have to review it. But this is what we want to see from the Lions players and coaching staff. Think about earlier in the year with even say the same Vikings team that we're facing now. They were tentative throughout all of the fourth quarter, the first time we played the Vikings, and other similar games. Here, they're keeping their foot on the gas. They're not trying to go on 3rd and 1 for some home run plays. They're just doing chip away plays, either with the run, the play action, screen passes, and it's making it very difficult for the Vikings or any other future team to keep up with us. They've proven, Detroit has, that they'll throw it down the field. They've proven that Goff actually is not bad after the couple games stretch in the middle of the season where he just kind of fell apart. But he has really come around, and because of it, this offense is becoming incredibly difficult to guard. So I'm not going to keep you guys a ton today. Go celebrate a huge victory for Detroit. 6-7 after being 1-6 is a heck of a deal. You got 4 games left in the season, and no game bigger than the game in New Jersey against the New York Football Giants. You win that game there with 3 games to go. It becomes a sprint between you and a few other teams for that 8th seed and postseason glory. Let's see what can happen. But for now, let's just all enjoy this and a really impressive game by the players, the coaches, and across the board. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow on another Lions Talk Live.